managing editor, and I'm very excited to be here with the cast members from Ahsoka. I know you guys want to talk to them, so let's get them out here now. She plays Sabine Wren. He plays Ezra Ridger, Eman Esfandi. Come on out, guys.
You can do it!
Eman. She plays Hati, Ivanna, Elsbeth, Diana Lee, and Inosanto. It's a So I'm gonna start out this panel being a little meta, guys, because Star Wars, when you join a Star Wars project, you gotta keep secrets, obviously. And even before it launches, you have to be careful what you say. And then the show premieres, and the strike was going on for very good reasons, but you still couldn't talk about it. So what's it like to finally be able to acknowledge everything that happens to your characters in the series, and in one case that you're in the series Ahsoka?
Thank you guys so much for coming. The strike was really painful. I feel like the show got to exist by itself without commentary, and the story got to kind of stand on its own. So I tried to take that positive, but I really wished I could interact and respond, and it was really painful not to be able to. So finally I can say thank you so much for watching the show.
I echo the same thing. Hello everybody. It's nice to say anything about the show. I was watching at home and really, really wanting to just say that I'm Java. You know,
Yes.
Huge twist. So it's an honor to be here. Thank y'all. We wouldn't be here without y'all. So thank you.
Hi everyone. It's so meaningful to be here with you because the last time I got to interact with you, I think was Star Wars Celebration. Yeah, just to now see you, and after Shin and Balin has gotten to be in the world, it's just so meaningful, and getting to see you interact with you, it just means the world. It's so cool. So thank you so much for having us.
All I can say is I love you fans. You guys are amazing, and we appreciate all the love and support, and I'm so grateful to you. So you guys know how to bring the joy. Thank you so much, and I'm so glad that finally Iman can be with us, our Star Wars family, together here. So when I found out that I was going to be possibly considered for Ahsoka, ironically, I was at Disneyland with my family, and I got the call from my manager, and I just literally like screamed and cried in the middle of Disneyland. So yeah, it was kind of crazy how that happened, but I tell you, it was beautiful because when it felt real for me that Ahsoka was happening is when we had our first Zoom table read, and then that beautiful chemistry that we were building in real time on Zoom. I loved it, so I was so happy.
This is a question for any of you to jump in on, because all of you either wielded a lightsaber or fought against a lightsaber. You were in a lightsaber fight even if you weren't holding a lightsaber. I'm just curious, what was the training process for that like in general? And my second part of the question is, I remember Ewan McGregor famously saying on the prequels, him and Liam Neeson couldn't stop making lightsaber humming noises, and I've been chastised and told to stop doing that. And did you have that problem as well? Come on, go.
So repeat the question.
Oh, what was the training process for the lightsaber fight like? And did you make the noise on set?
Okay. So yeah, there was a lot of noise making on set, especially like coming from Ray. Like he would just always go kind of boom, boom, boom. So you can't really help yourself. It was great. I think especially getting to work with Natasha quite a bit. It was just a lot of training. We got to know one another from training, and getting to know Ming as well, being led by her. There's a lot that comes along with getting to know your lightsaber. I think it has to do with, like, it's a meditative process as well, and showing up for yourself in a physical way that I don't think I've experienced before. But yeah, a lot of noises were made, and maybe still are made to this day. Who knows with the
territory.
It's funny when at first when he kind of turns down the lightsaber, like, oh, is he not going to use a lightsaber? So did you have that question too? You're like, do I get to use a lightsaber or not? What's the deal?
So luckily, when they told me I got the role, I just assumed I was going to get to do everything. Sure. I was like, oh, I'm going to do it all. Not actually sure, but like in my head, I was like, I hope to do everything. And then I actually shot my lightsaber stuff first, so I knew I was going to use it. And I did not make the sounds, but because I've seen the interviews of everyone who made the sound so much, I was like, I'm gonna be cool, I'm not gonna make the sound. And then, if you've seen the show, there's the episode where I don't use a saber, but I do pick up a blaster, and first take of that, nail it. I mean, practical effects, people are flying away, you know, like, it's so cool. And right away, I'm like, oh my God, that was really good. And they're like, we're gonna do it again. I'm like, oh, what for? Sound, camera, whatever. They're like, you're making the blaster sound with your mouth. Oh my God, I wasn't prepared not to make the blaster sound. Because then they showed me, they were like, intensity of that scene, but I'm like,
Actually, like, one of the reasons for that is because there's no like recoil with weapons in Star Wars. So instead of like if you're pretending and there's no pushback. So you often make sounds because you almost need to tell yourself when you're shooting. Because so I was doing that too. Anyway.
So I made blaster sounds, but not saber sounds. Yeah.
Diana, on both Mandalorian and this show, you're in these big fight scenes where you have very cool weapons against lightsabers. I know obviously you have a big martial arts background. I'm curious though with like lightsabers, like what was the technique they were teaching you to do the fight scenes in this? And was it brand new stuff or was it kind of incorporating things you've done in the past?
Well, I have to give kudos for Ahsoka, Min Kyu, who was our fight choreographer. She is amazing. She was the one that was really the backbone behind all the fight scenes for Ahsoka specifically. And you know, my younger years, I used to be a stunt woman, and before that, through my father, Dan Inosanto, I luckily was always introduced to many different martial arts styles and systems. So it was interesting. So like Mandalorian, I could kind of pull in my Filipino martial arts roots, my Thai boxing roots, but it was great working with me because it was really, I had to channel my wushu roots, you know, and she created completely this amazing system for the Talzin blade to go up against the lightsaber. You know, that whole thing of putting my hand on the blade as the fires. I mean, that's me, Hugh, inventing that. And I just thought that was just brilliant, so unique. And as far as making sounds, I mean, like with the Beskar spear was more like ching, 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 when I was doing it. And then, with the Talzin blade, I was like, whoosh, whoosh. That's all I could think of in my mind. That was it. Those were my sound effects.
Shout out Min Kyu. Shout out Min Kyu.
Yeah.
She should be here. Go see her. The reason we fight well.
Yeah, and our stunt team, our doubles. Our doubles, yes, yeah. So we're loving it.
A huge deal in Star Wars lore, but also these characters. How would they react to each other?
It was funny because on the day we sort of discussed it and we were like, what does feel right? Like it's almost like such an epic moment. You want to like cry and run to the person, but then at the end of the day, you just have to do what comes out naturally as Sabine and Ezra, and they're just old friends who would be like, hey, I casually gave up the galaxy to find you, but hey.
No questions asked. Just, what's up, dude? Thanks for finding me. It was very organic.
It was very like Star Wars in that casual nature of something that should be so much more serious, I think.
That was great. And then Diana and Ivanna, your characters, it was such an interesting thing where it's like, along with Rey's character, the three are working together, but it's not like they're all on the same, agenda or belief system. And there's definitely some tension with your two characters. Is there any sort of underlying respect there, or is it just like, we're working together because we have to work together, and we'll just see this job through?
It's so interesting because we had a saying, the bond of the baddies. And so we were very close on set. So it's interesting actually how the editing was. I was actually more fascinated by the editing choices, But I think for me, I just felt like my character had a job to do, and she was going to fall in order, and Balin was my right-hand man, and she was there to do what she has to do. But it's kind of funny because behind the scenes we were just so close. So it is interesting how it came to be on the screen. I don't know. What would you
With all
thought?
that being said, and with all the deep love that I have for you and our bond of buddies, speaking from the Shin side, there's something fishy about Morgan. It's just, she has a bit of a beef with the witches, I think. I think because it's quite unknown for Shin who Morgan is and her intention, for lack of a better term, there's something like unorthodox in Morgan and how she chooses to interact with the Force. So I think, if anything, it's just Morgan is unfamiliar for Shin, and she doesn't quite know how to understand her.
I think that's a great way to put it. Just there's even for me when I'm seeing it, like there really is the way they're putting this a lot of mystery behind Morgan. But I do love the scene, like you're a witch, and I'm like I just love the way that came out.
I think it has to do with whatever story Balin has told Shin, because I think the knowledge that she carries regarding witches is what Balin has, the knowledge that Balin has shared with her.
So this is another question for anyone to jump in on, because I've had the pleasure of interviewing Mr. Dave Filoni several times
Dave.
back to Clone Wars days, and it doesn't take a lot to get him talking about like deep Star Wars lore. He's a little busier these days, but I am curious if you have like a question for him, if you're like asking some little details. Did it ever turn into some of those like, we're getting some deep dives here? Natasha, it seems like.
Of course it did. Every day it did.
I looked to Tash because when I first came on the set, they had been shooting for a while.
Yeah.
And she was like, has Dave come up and hung out with you yet? I go, oh yeah, like every once in a little bit. She goes, did he do the thing? I'm like, what thing? He's like, did he, go straight into an hour of Star Wars with you? I was like, for sure, that's Dave's thing, like you just sort of sit there and soak it up and you're like, all right, Dave, didn't know half of that. Thank
It's
you,
just
Dave.
a walking encyclopedia.
And then he just floats away, makes some joke and he just floats away. You're
Like
like,
it levitates to the next set.
does it again somewhere else.
Hi, Dave.
Does it again somewhere else.
Doesn't miss a beat at all.
If he came in and quizzed you, would you be able to retain everything that he asked you about?
Honestly, yeah, I think I could.
I have like terrible memories. I think I'll need to watch everything every year if I'm to keep up with everything. So, yeah.
Do that on Disney Plus. I think of Dave and lore. So was that something that you kind of got a big lesson on? And because that kind of goes it goes to the Clone Wars, but it goes even further back. Did you find out everything about the Night Sisters pretty quickly?
Actually, I knew that I was a Night Sister going all the way back to Mandalorian. I did know.
That one he did reveal.
Nice.
Okay.
So that one I just kept close, I was not going to, reveal that at all. But I didn't know enough. I mean, I knew a little bit because thank goodness through my kids, I would always watch Clone Wars and Rebels. So I had to really go back. And then I knew by the time that Thrawn was going to be really officially part of the universe, thank goodness I read the Timothy Zahn books.
Yeah.
Timothy Zahn, right?
Yeah.
I love that. And then of course I could lean in on Dave and ask him all kinds of questions. And I think early on I knew Ezra was going to be important. I knew somehow that Ezra was going to be very important in this whole thing as well, but I didn't know how. So
See, you're a good secret keeper.
I try.
Ivanna, I think nothing reflects the fact that these are not Sith, that Balin and Shin have a peaceful goodbye. Because usually Sith don't say goodbye in a nice way to each other. Do you think, how much, obviously she has her own sort of goals and she's very forthright, but does she have any regrets, you think, that they couldn't sort of stay on the same wavelength more, her and Balin, as he kind of goes off on his own journey?
It's a difficult question to answer because I think we will really know regarding her regrets and thought patterns in the future if we get the chance to tell that story. But personally, of course, I think if anything, she's learning maybe the heartbreak for the first time of being left alone. Because Balin is her family, and you know, working for him and working with him, getting to know his world is the only admiration and love she's ever known. So of course, I think there's a lot of turmoil, and she's within the storyline. Even in the first season, we see her break down more and more. But I think in order to create a better future for herself, whatever that might be, and whatever that might look like.
And the way we leave up, the finale was so interesting, and sort of the way things, where the characters were left off. Natasha, I'm curious, she had this goal, Sabine, to, she would do anything to get Ezra home. And she succeeded in that goal, probably not exactly how she thought it was going to succeed. Ahsoka tells Sabine that they're kind of exactly where they need to be. Is that something you think Sabine can kind of accept? Or is this a sort of tricky situation for her as far as accomplishing something, but ...
Gosh, on a personal level, I don't know how she can accept that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Sabine probably feels bad about how blind she was, but then again, above all, she trusts her master. She trusts Ahsoka, and if Ahsoka says that they're exactly where they're meant to be, then she's brought some peace by that, I think. Yeah, whether she agrees with that, I don't know. She probably still feels a bit guilty.
Right.
I hope she does.
Sure. Iman, we get some idea of what Ezra's been up to. He certainly has a cool group of friends that help him out. But how much have you, whether you've discussed it or not, how much have you thought about sort of what his life was like out there during all that time, and the chainmail and all these little things, signs of what happened to him?
Say nothing else about the chainmail. Say nothing about that. But it's one of those things, like, as an actor approaching a role, when you're questioning, like, okay, so this is where they find me. So then, as I arrived here, what was I up to? Like, what was I really doing? And some of that is answered in the sense that I joined this nomadic tribe with the Noti, and they give you that cool pod. But interestingly enough, just as a parallel, I had been in like a very meditative, sort of isolated space myself for like the 6 months prior to a few months of learning about Ezra. And so I was having like this very like almost alone on an island experience in my real life, and just like meditating, grounding, all that stuff. And then I come into this character and they're like, yeah, you've been stranded on this planet with this peaceful nomadic tribe, and I'm like, well, that just sounds like me hanging with my homies, you know what I mean? Like, I think I've been doing that, I can relate to that pretty easily, so I didn't...
And the theories about what you and the Noti were getting up to on your own, which was hilarious. We were like make jokes that they would have like a show every week where they would like force him to do the force, and they'd be like, Ezra!
Carrying a bunch of stuff. My friends had a theory that I was around fire with like rapping with them.
I was gonna say, musical theater.
Concerts with the Noti, like, you guys are gonna listen to this. They don't even know what I'm saying. They're like, so maybe that's so Ezra. There you go.
I need that t-shirt.
We sadly said goodbye to Morgan. But look, there's some weird stuff going on here. Witches, Dead Rising. Should we count her out for good, do you think?
I have no idea. I have no idea. So we'll just, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But it was quite a moment, wasn't it?
Were you forewarned about your death, or did you find out?
Say that again?
Were you warned about your death ahead of time, or did you see it in the script?
No, to me, it's just part of the storytelling process, And so I knew early on that this was going to be the process, and I was fine with it. One thing I did want is that her weapon would be used against her. That I made a request, and they worked that in. So the Talisman Blade would be part of the process of her last breath.
You guys kind of referenced earlier, Ivanna and Natasha, that the sort of the duels you guys had, and it was this nice sort of runner through the season. Was that fun for you guys? And was this just like pure animosity? Was there any, feeling like, this person, could actually take me, or what was going on with the two characters?
I mean, so much left unsaid here. I think Shin and Sabine, as the fans have reacted to the, shall I call it chemistry?
Yes.
It's a good word. It's a good word.
Yeah, we felt it filming. We were like, these characters have this crazy magnetic connection to each other, and sometimes, not in the best way. But it was really special, and we felt it on set, and it was just something that, like, Dave, I don't even think he's aware of what he's created.
He was aware. I think he was aware on set. He would just look at us and go, "We're like, Dave, do you see what you're writing?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?"
You're right.
No, I mean, I think that they're like such great opponents, and for so many reasons, and it's interesting because it isn't that feeling of like good versus evil or anything like predictable like that. Sabine's got some darkness in her, and Shin has some other interesting elements in her too.
I think there's a lot for them to learn from one another. Truly, it's a good combo. I think.
I hope people are sending Dave the fan edits. We're going to start taking questions from the audience in a minute. But first, I wanted to ask you guys, an important part of joining the Star Wars universe is getting a
I have no questions.
And just what's it been like seeing the action figures start to pop up?
she's still in
No, she's like, I'm good.
She's still in awe.
It's extremely surreal, and I think my kids now finally think I'm a little cool, just a little bit. So yeah, it's really quite an honor, and I love it. I love it with all of it. I just love it, So I'm having a blast. It really is. It's fun.
Do you have your toy out on a shelf, Ivanna?
I might. Yes, I might have a toy. It's just, you do it for the kid within you and also for the kids around you, like my niece. It's really exciting. It just means a lot. We get to tell stories that we really care about when we just get to witness the characters come to life in different forms. So of course and more than that, it's been so meaningful to see the fan art. It's been so incredible.
Say that the fan art. Oh my gosh, the fan art out there is
pretty good.
And seeing people just taking their time and also interact with those characters and give them like an additional layer to life and existence. Yeah, it's just really cool. It really is. It means a lot. Yeah.
Not to make it all about race, but I am biracial. I'm half Persian, half Ecuadorian. And I grew up watching anime, cartoons, Dragon Ball Z, Power Rangers, everything. And there's no action figures that I had that looked like me. So seeing that, at first it was like, oh, that's nifty, that's so weird and cool. And then as I got to see it again and again and again, and kids brought it up, like you were saying, I was like, oh, that's like not just cool. This is like for a generation of kids who have parents who are not from this country, or just they are of a different race. To see yourself represented in a toy, and not just a toy, an action figure, like a hero. That for me has been like one of the most special things I've ever been a part of. So.
I'm not on wood that all of you get this as well, but Natasha, the Hot Toys figure that's coming out of you is insane.
Yes.
What is this dark magic? What do you see a picture?
I got tagged in a photo and I just thought it was a picture of me, and I was like, what was that? And then I swiped and it was in the box. And I was like, oh, wow. It's so amazing. I cannot wait to get one.
Have you seen it?
I didn't think I would necessarily want one, but now I've seen it. I'm like, no, it's very cool. It's very cool.
I think that's very fair. Start taking some questions from folks here. You kind of got a Star Wars hat, so I'll start with him right there.
My question's for all of you. In the future, what character do you want to see your character interact with?
What character would you like to see your character interact with?
Grogu.
Bo-Katan.
Grogu. Yes! Grogu.
Grogu.
Yes! Yes!
Still waiting. Dare I say,
Say it anyway.
Sure.
Morgan's gone now, but I did say something like, did Morgan, she have ever interacted with Darth Vader? So yeah, I was for Darth Vader too as well.
No shame in that. Very understandable. Let's see. Go right here. The jacket
Are
right
those
there.
Anakin scenes?
My question's for Eman. Ever since the trailers dropped for the show, the epic intrigue of your character kind of like mystified the fandom. Knowing that you have an orange lightsaber, do you have a trajectory that you would like to see your character go in the future based on that? Or do you have an idea of where, if you could kind of write your own script for the future of your character, what would it look like?
just speak up a little bit louder.
Sorry, knowing that you've got an orange lightsaber and how we saw your character at the end of the show, if you could write the script, the trajectory for your character, what would it look like?
It's a really good question, and I think it's a question that I can't necessarily answer because we've got Dave Filoni at the wheel, and I trust him wholeheartedly, and I will honor the path that he chooses for Shin. And it's such an honor to be led by him, so I will follow the great Dave Filoni.
In Dave we trust. It's a gray shirt right there. Water bottle.
This question's for the whole panel. Which character, not which characters, but do you guys see yourself interacting with Luke Skywalker during this time? Because he's around. And how do you see your purpose going forward?
Certainly with
Like,
Ezra,
really raise his
where
hand.
he is, I'd be curious what Luke would make of that.
This is like a sort of a trap, huh?
Yep.
We're just trying to figure things out.
Yep.
Let's get them now. Shoot, yeah, I have no idea. All I'll say is I love Luke. Luke is the OG, right? He's the guy. So shout out Mark Hamill and we'll see. I don't know.
Down there, young Grand Admiral Ethan. How flexible were the costumes to move around in, or vice versa? Were they flexible to move around in?
I know my costume, there was no way I could have bad posture, I'll tell you that. Yeah. And that was the beauty of Shauna. She made these amazing costumes, so God rest her, bless her soul then. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good question. Thank you so much for asking. We have a really great costume department, and the head of costume, Shauna, is incredibly talented, and there's so much story being told just through the material that she uses. I'm sure that you can share your experience with the way that she has put Sabine's costume together. So I think the entire costume department did everything they could in order to make us comfortable.
Yeah, our costume wardrobe people are so incredible. They really were.
I just have to say I love the visual, like it's like cloning a Zed bird with Grand Admiral Thrawn over there.
Let's be on edge.
Your costume looked pretty comfy.
I am very lucky. My costume was like a robe, like a bathrobe. I could move around in that thing like nothing, like butter. But the Lethal costume, the younger Ezra costume, could not step more than 2 inches. So, but I only had to, I was very free. I was very lucky.
I have to thank all the Mandalorians that came before me because every time they did the costume, it got more comfortable and more stretchy. And I actually met Katie and we were talking about that. And most importantly, they turned jumpsuit into a two-piece so you could go to the bathroom.
Yes!
Ivan talked about this a little bit earlier.
Get the mic a little closer.
Sorry. First, I wanted to say that Sabine means a lot to me as a character, and I loved your portrayal of her. And I was curious, how did you interact with Sabine's animated version of the Rebels? Like I said, I know Iman talked about
Thank you so much. I watched all of Rebels in the months leading up to the show, so I think I actually went chronologically, which by story, which I know is controversial, but like I wanted the story, you know. And then I took it all. I watched her behavior. I listened to her voice. I watched her playfulness, and then I put it in like a vault in my head and sort of forgot about it because years have passed, and I wanted to take the essence of that character, but not try to copy it because I felt like that would be a weird, like, half-assed version of, you know, what I could bring to the truth of it if I just brought my own take on it that made sense with this cast and Dave Filoni and that day and whatever set brought. So, yeah, that was it.
Thank you. Let's see.
Oh, wow, that's going.
Right down there. Yeah, white shirt. Like, that's a Han Solo look. You got. Oh, wait, you're next.
Well, first of all, Slava Ukraini.
Heroям слава.
So my wife and I here, we're part of the Ukrainian community too. We're fundraising all the time as well. We know that you're part of the United 24, and we thank you. And so we just wanted to know, like, how knowing what is going on at home influenced your performance.
Oh.
So really good seeing you here. Thank you so much for being here. You just feel held, and you feel like you've got people that care about you and care about where you come from. Thank you for asking.
Now, we're running low on time, but I want to get in one more question. There is an Ahsoka raising her hand, so it seems like a good place to end on.
Guess I have to make it a good one.
Yes, please.
I'll try. So thank you all for coming and making this great show. What scene, either from Ahsoka or Rebels, do you think captures the essence of your characters?
Okay. For me, in Ahsoka, Rebels is like Ezra's all over that, you know. But in Ahsoka, I felt like the moment, as a spectator, that cemented it for me was when Sabine was trying to give him the lightsaber, and he's like, no, I'm good, and he has that whole fight, and then Ivanna and her crew are about to take us in and fire on all of us, and Ezra's like, whoa, hey, we can talk, or you can take us as prisoners. That part for me, even doing it on set, I was like, wow, this guy is hilarious. He's this Ezra guy, not me, but like the lines, you know? And so I was like, okay, this guy, this is how he is. In the heart of battle, he's gonna make this silly comment. That's so Ezra. That's how Ezra.
That's so Ezra.
Wow, that is a catchphrase, huh?
I'm gonna make it happen.
I think for myself, because Morgan's still such a new character to the universe, yet she comes from a legacy of Night Sisters. It was, honestly, it was episode 6, you know, when she meets the Great Mothers. And, you know, hopefully that conveyed to the audience her journey and that she could communicate through the Force, through visions with the Great Mothers. And then, of course, you know, the moment she sees Thrawn. So that episode 6, I felt, really captured the essence of really who Morgan was about and what her goals were about, you know. And then, of course, at the end, I should say, as an honorable mention at the end where she says for Dathomir, because then we understood what the bigger game was for her, you know.
Ivanna?
I'm sitting thinking, trying to pick the one. I think what captures the character truly is the scenes that she gets to share with Balin one-on-one and get to speak of their lives and ask the questions that she about life that she wonders. But I also think, to be honest, is the very end, her being on top of the hill and raising her lightsaber,
Oh, I love that.
captures her essence in many ways. So that would be the answer.
It's so hard because Sabine went on such a journey from start to finish with herself, and so I feel like she changed. So I don't know if there's one scene that captures her essence, but I do think in the finale, like right at the end where we're looking up at Anakin, I do think that there's an air of like, she's made all her mistakes, She's vented all of her frustrations. She's come around and she's ready to respect Ahsoka and really try to be the person that she knows she can be. So there's something in the magic, like the magic of that air, that scene, that night, that I love. I'm not sure if it's her essence, but I just love that that's like her looking into the future and moving past all of the struggle. Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you all for being here, and thank the panelists for being here. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Over here.